The smell hit me first, acrid smoke mixed with the sickly sweet stench of burning upholstery. My lungs constricted as I ran down the cracked sidewalk, my worn sneakers slapping against concrete still wet from the afternoon rain. The orange glow ahead painted the evening sky in shades of amber and crimson, casting grotesque shadows across the abandoned warehouse district. I shouldn't have been there. Should have been home with Emma, helping her with homework, heating up the leftover pasta that would stretch through tomorrow. But Mrs. Chen from 4B had called, frantic, saying she'd seen flames near the old textile factory, where I sometimes took shortcuts on my way back from my second shift at the diner. The same route I'd walked just an hour ago. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably the babysitter wondering where I was. But I couldn't stop. Something primal pulled me forward, some stupid instinct that heroes in movies had, the kind of instinct that got people killed. The heat reached me before I reached the building. Waves of it, distorting the air, making my skin prickle beneath my cheap polyester uniform. The fire trucks hadn't arrived yet. This part of town, they always took longer. Poor neighborhoods burned slower, I'd learned. Or maybe they just burned alone. That's when I heard it. A sound that cut through the roar of flames. A groan, deep and masculine, laced with pain. My heart hammered against my ribs. Every rational thought screamed at me to wait, to call for help, to run the other way. But rationality had abandoned me somewhere between exhaustion and desperation. I'd spent 3 years being invisible, being stepped over, being nothing. Maybe saving someone would make me something. The side entrance gaped open, belching black smoke. I pulled my cardigan over my mouth, threadbare fabric that probably wouldn't do much, and plunged inside. The world became a nightmare of orange and black. Flames licked up the walls, consuming decades of dust and decay. Wooden beams groaned overhead, threatening collapse. My eyes watered, tears streaming down my cheeks as I squinted through the haze. "Hello?" My voice cracked, barely audible over the inferno's roar. Another groan, closer now, to my left. I stumbled forward, my shin connecting with something metal. Pain shot up my leg, but I pushed through it, following the sound like a beacon. Then I saw him. He lay partially pinned beneath a fallen beam, one arm stretched out as if reaching for escape. Even through the smoke, even in the hellish light, I could see he didn't belong here. His suit, because it was a suit, not the jeans and hoodies this neighborhood wore, was torn and singed, but the fabric whispered money, real money. His dark hair caught the firelight, and blood trickled from a gash on his temple. "Can you move?" I dropped to my knees beside him, my hands already assessing the beam. Heavy, too heavy. His eyes opened, even half-conscious, even through pain. Those eyes held something that made my breath catch. Dark, almost black, with an intensity that seemed to pierce through the chaos. They focused on me with startling clarity. "Leave," he rasped, his voice rough but commanding. Even dying, this man gave orders. "Shut up." I wedged my shoulder under the beam, every muscle in my body screaming as I pushed. It didn't budge. "Help me. Push when I say." For a moment I thought he'd argue, then something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect, and he nodded. 1, 2, 3. We moved together. The beam shifted inches, just enough. He dragged himself free with a grunt of agony, and I saw his leg, twisted wrong, possibly broken. Without thinking, I grabbed his arm, hauling it over my shoulders. He was solid muscle and dead weight, easily twice my size, but adrenaline did strange things. "We need to move. Now." He tried to walk, couldn't. Each step was agony written across features that, I noticed dimly, were striking even in distress. Sharp jawline, straight nose, the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers, not burning warehouses. A crack sounded above us. I looked up just in time to see the ceiling beam give way. We weren't going to make it. His arm tightened around me, and suddenly the world spun. He'd twisted us, his body covering mine as we hit the ground. The beam crashed where we'd been standing, sending up a shower of sparks and ash. The impact drove the air from my lungs, and for a moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I knew was the weight of him, the smell of expensive cologne mixed with smoke. the rapid beating of his heart against my back. "You're insane," he growled in my ear, his breath hot against my neck. "Completely insane." "You're welcome," I wheezed. Somehow, we moved, crawling, stumbling, dragging each other through smoke that turned the world into a suffocating blanket. My lungs burned. My eyes burned. Everything burned. Then fresh air hit my face like a blessing. We collapsed on the sidewalk 20 feet from the building, gasping, coughing, alive. Sirens wailed in the distance. Finally, too late. I rolled onto my back, staring up at the smoke-stained sky, my body shaking with exhaustion and shock. Beside me, he'd propped himself up on one elbow, studying me with those unsettling dark eyes. "Who are you?" His voice had recovered some of its strength, and there was something in it I couldn't identify. Not gratitude, something sharper. "Nobody." The word tasted bitter. Just someone who was stupid enough to... "Your name." It wasn't a request. Despite the pain he must be in, despite nearly dying, this man spoke like someone accustomed to immediate obedience. "Maya." I didn't know why I answered, didn't know why his gaze made my skin prickle with awareness. "Maya Torres." He repeated it slowly, as if committing it to memory. "Maya." The way he said it sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Before I could respond, headlights swept across us, not the red and blue of emergency vehicles. These were different. Black SUVs, 3 of them, moving with predatory precision. They screeched to a halt, and men poured out. Big men in dark suits, moving with military efficiency. "Boss!" One of them rushed forward, and I noticed the gun at his hip. My blood went cold. "Boss?" The man beside me, the man I'd just saved, shifted, his demeanor transforming in an instant. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by something hard and dangerous. When the men tried to help him, he waved them off, his eyes never leaving my face. "Secure the perimeter," he ordered, his voice carrying absolute authority. "Find who did this." Did this? My mind raced. This wasn't an accident. "You should go," he said to me, softer now but no less commanding. "Forget you saw anything. Forget me." I should have. God, I should have run right then. But I was mesmerized by the transformation, by the way these dangerous-looking men deferred to him, by the way he held himself despite the pain. "Who are you?" I whispered. The corner of his mouth lifted in something that wasn't quite a smile. "Nobody. Just someone who was stupid enough to trust the wrong people." My words, thrown back at me. One of his men approached, holding out a phone. "Sir, the fire department is 2 minutes out. We need to leave before... Get her information." He cut him off, still watching me. Everything. Where she lives, where she works, her daughter's school. Ice flooded my veins. "How do you know about Emma?" He gestured to my uniform, where my name tag read, "Maya, single mom of 1. The diner's cheerful attempt at humanizing us workers. I'd always hated it. Now I hated it more. "Please." I started to stand, panic overriding exhaustion. "Don't. She's just a kid. Whatever this is, leave her out of it." He caught my wrist, his grip gentle but unbreakable. The touch sent electricity through my arm. "I'm not going to hurt her. Or you." His thumb brushed across my pulse point, and I knew he felt how fast my heart was racing. "But you saved my life, Maya Torres. That creates obligations. I don't want anything from you. That's unfortunate." He released me as his men helped him toward one of the SUVs. "Because you're going to get it anyway." I stood there, frozen, as they loaded him into the vehicle. Just before the door closed, he looked back at me one last time. The firelight danced across his features, making him look like something from a dark fairy tale. Beautiful and terrible and utterly compelling. "My name is Dante," he said. "Dante Valentino. Remember it." The door shut. The SUVs pulled away, disappearing into the night as smoothly as they'd appeared. Moments later, fire trucks arrived, followed by police. I answered their questions in a daze, gave my statement, accepted the scratchy emergency blanket they wrapped around my shoulders, but all I could think about was the weight of his body over mine, protecting me from falling debris. The way he'd said my name, the promise, or threat, in his final words. I didn't know who Dante Valentino was. Not then. But I would learn. And by the time I did, it would be far too late to run. The next morning arrived with Emma's small hand shaking my shoulder, her voice cutting through the nightmare of smoke and dark eyes that had plagued what little sleep I'd managed. "Mama, you're going to be late." I jolted upright, my body protesting every movement. My muscles ached like I'd been hit by a truck. In a way, I supposed I had been. A truck named Dante Valentino. The name alone sent a strange flutter through my chest that I absolutely did not want to examine. "I'm up, baby." I forced a smile, smoothing her dark curls. She looked so much like her father, the same eyes, the same smile. The father who'd disappeared when she was 2, leaving nothing but debt and broken promises. "Go brush your teeth. I'll make breakfast." She scampered off, and I caught my reflection in the mirror above my dresser. Dark circles shadowed my eyes. A bruise bloomed along my jaw. I didn't remember getting it. Soot still clung to my hairline despite the shower I'd taken at 3 a.m. I looked like hell. I felt worse. The kitchen was barely big enough for both of us. A cramped space with peeling linoleum and a refrigerator that hummed too loud. I poured the last of the cereal into Emma's bowl, making a mental note that we were down to $17 until Friday's paycheck. The babysitter needed paying. The electric bill was overdue. Normal problems. Manageable problems. Not problems like mysterious men with guns and SUVs who knew where my daughter went to school. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My hand trembled slightly as I answered. "Miss Torres?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Valentino. He'd like to express his gratitude for your assistance last night." My throat went dry. "That's not necessary. A car will arrive at 9 to take you to breakfast. Please be ready. I have work. Your shift has been covered. Paid, of course." There was something final in her tone. 9 o'clock, Miss Torres. It would be unwise to refuse." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my pulse hammering. This was insane. I should call the police, file a report about harassment, about threats. Except nothing she'd said was technically threatening. And the police in this neighborhood, they had more important things to worry about than a scared single mother who'd stuck her nose where it didn't belong. "Mama?" Emma appeared in the doorway, backpack already on. "Are you okay? You look scared." I forced brightness into my voice. "Just tired, sweetie. Come on, let's get you to school." The walk to Jefferson Elementary usually took 15 minutes. Emma chattered about her upcoming science project, about how her friend Sophia had invited her to a birthday party at the arcade, about whether we could afford new shoes because hers were getting tight. Each word was a reminder of why I couldn't afford to get involved with whatever Dante Valentino represented. Emma needed stability, safety. A mother who worked 2 jobs and stayed invisible, not one who saved mysterious men from fires and got pulled into God knew what. I dropped her at the gate, hugging her tighter than usual. "Mama, you're squishing me," she giggled. "Sorry." I released her, smoothing her hair. "I love you. Be good." "Love you too." She ran toward her friends, her laughter carrying back to me on the morning breeze. So innocent. So untouched by the darkness I'd glimpsed last night. I needed to keep it that way. At 8:55, I stood outside our building in my only decent dress, a navy blue thing I'd bought at Goodwill for job interviews. The street was already alive with activity. Mrs. Rodriguez sweeping her stoop, the bodega owner rolling up his metal shutters, teenagers heading to the bus stop. Normal. Everything was normal. Then the car arrived. Not an SUV this time, a sleek black sedan with windows tinted so dark they seemed to swallow light. It pulled up with whisper-quiet precision, and a man in a sharp suit emerged from the driver's side. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a scar running through his left eyebrow. "Miss Torres." He opened the back door. "Please." Every instinct screamed at me to run. Instead, I climbed inside. The interior smelled of leather and that same expensive cologne from last night. The seats were buttery soft, the kind of luxury I'd only seen in movies. As we pulled away from the curb, I noticed Mrs. Rodriguez watching, her broom forgotten. Great. Now the whole building would be talking. We drove in silence through neighborhoods that gradually transformed, from crumbling brick to renovated brownstones to glass and steel. The city had layers. I'd always known that, but I'd never crossed from one to another so starkly. Finally, we stopped in front of a restaurant I'd passed 100 times but never entered. The kind with a single name and elegant script and no prices on the menu. The kind where people like me didn't exist. The driver opened my door. Top floor, private dining room. He's waiting. My legs felt unsteady as I entered. The hostess took one look at me and smiled. Not the dismissive glance I usually got in places like this, but genuine warmth tinged with something like pity. "Miss Torres, right this way." The elevator ride seemed to last forever. My reflection in the polished brass doors showed a woman out of her depth, drowning, desperate. I straightened my shoulders. I'd survived worse than breakfast with a stranger. The doors opened. The dining room was all floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, morning light streaming in like liquid gold. A single table sat in the center, set for two with white linens and crystal glasses, and there, standing by the window with his back to me, was Dante Valentino. He'd cleaned up. Gone was the torn suit, the blood, the vulnerability. Now he wore charcoal gray tailored to perfection, his dark hair styled, his posture radiating controlled power. When he turned, I saw his face clearly for the first time in proper light. God help me. He was beautiful. Not handsome. Beautiful in a dangerous, predatory way. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth that promised either pleasure or pain, and those eyes. Those impossibly dark eyes that seemed to catalog every detail of my appearance in a single sweep. His left leg, I noticed, barely showed a limp. Whatever injury he'd sustained had been serious, but he moved like a man accustomed to pushing through pain. "Maya." My name on his lips sent heat through my veins. "Thank you for coming." Did I have a choice? A slight smile curved his mouth. No. At least he was honest. He moved toward the table, pulling out a chair. "Sit. Eat. You look like you haven't had a decent meal in months." The observation stung because it was true. I sat, if only because my legs felt shaky. A waiter appeared immediately. Where had he been hiding? Pouring coffee and water, setting down plates of food I couldn't begin to name. Eggs prepared some fancy way, pastries that smelled like heaven, fruit arranged like art. My stomach growled audibly. Humiliation burned my cheeks. Dante sat across from me, watching as I tried to decide which fork to use. "Eat," he said again, gentler this time. "Please." Pride warred with hunger. Hunger won. I took a bite of something flaky and buttery and nearly moaned. When was the last time I'd tasted food like this? Real food. Not instant ramen or day-old diner specials. Better? He sipped his coffee, still watching me with that unnerving intensity. "Why am I here? I told you. You saved my life. That creates obligations. So this is gratitude? A fancy breakfast and intimidation tactics?" Intimidation? He seemed genuinely puzzled. "I sent a car. Covered your shift so you wouldn't lose wages. Made sure you were fed." Which part of that is intimidating? The part where your assistant implied refusing was unwise. The part where you had your people find out about my daughter. The part where you're... I gestured vaguely at him, at the room, at everything, whatever you are. "Ah." He set down his cup with deliberate care. "You've been asking questions, Googling my name." I had. At 4 a.m., unable to sleep, I'd finally typed Dante Valentino into my phone's browser. The results had made my blood run cold. Alleged organized crime connections. The Valentino family. Investigations that went nowhere because witnesses disappeared. A business empire that stretched across the eastern seaboard, built on legitimate holdings that everyone suspected fronted for something darker. The man sitting across from me was the head of one of the most powerful crime families in the country, and I'd saved his life. "I want no part of your world," I said quietly. "Whatever obligations you think exist, consider them paid. I won't tell anyone what I saw. I just want to be left alone. No." The single word hung in the air like a pronouncement. "Excuse me?" He leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his gaze locking with mine. "Someone tried to kill me last night, Maya. They burned that building knowing I'd be inside. When I find out who, and I will, There will be consequences. Blood consequences. Fear coiled in my stomach. What does that have to do with me? You were there. You saw me vulnerable. You're a witness, which makes you a liability. He paused, letting that sink in. Or an asset. I haven't decided which yet. I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. You saved my life. He said it like that explained everything. In my world, that means something. It means you're under my protection now, whether you want it or not. I don't want it. Too bad. He sat back, his expression hardening. Do you know what happens to people who cross paths with men like me, Maya? They disappear. Or they end up as collateral damage when my enemies decide to send a message. You think you're invisible in that neighborhood? You're not. I found you in hours. Others will too. The pastry turned to ash in my mouth. Are you threatening me? I'm protecting you. His voice dropped, became almost tender. You and Emma both. I've already stationed men near her school. Discreet, you won't see them, but they're there. Your apartment building has security now. Anyone who tries to get to you will have to go through my people first. Horror and confusion warred within me. You can't just... I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask to be born into poverty either, I'm guessing. But here we are. He signaled the waiter, who brought more coffee. I'm offering you a way out, Maya. A better life, safety, security. Everything you've been killing yourself to provide. In exchange for what? Your trust. He said it simply, as if it were easy. Stay close. Let me keep you safe. And in return, I'll make sure Emma gets into the best schools. That you never have to work 2 jobs again. That you're never invisible again. It was tempting. God, it was tempting in a way that terrified me. And if I refuse? His expression darkened. Then you go back to your life. But Maya? He leaned in close. So close I could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. My enemies won't care that you want no part of this. They'll use you to get to me anyway. At least if you accept my protection, you have a chance. My hands trembled around my coffee cup. This is insane. Yes, he agreed, but it's also reality. Your reality now. The moment you pulled me from those flames, everything changed. He was right. I hated that he was right, but I had Emma to think about. And if men like Dante Valentino had enemies, if those enemies would come for me anyway, what exactly does your protection entail? His smile was slow, dangerous, and entirely too satisfied. That, piccola fiamma, we'll figure out together. Little flame. Even I knew enough Italian for that. And despite everything, the fear, the danger, the absolute insanity of the situation, warmth bloomed in my chest at the endearment. I was in so much trouble. 3 days later, I understood what Dante's protection actually meant. It meant surveillance disguised as safety. It meant my freedom slipping away one careful, calculated step at a time. The apartment had been upgraded. New locks appeared overnight, the kind with keypads and cameras. The building's landlord, who'd ignored my complaints about the broken heating for 2 years, suddenly became attentive, fixing everything within 48 hours. Even Mrs. Rodriguez stopped gossiping, her eyes sliding away whenever I passed. Someone had gotten to everyone. At the diner, my manager pulled me aside on my first shift back. Torres, you've been reassigned. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Corporate wants you doing inventory. Back office work. Same pay, better hours. Translation. Dante wanted me away from the public. Away from the windows. Away from anyone who might use me as a target. I should have been grateful. The inventory room was climate-controlled, the work easier, but it felt like a cage with comfortable bars. Emma noticed the changes too. Mama, why does that man keep following us? She'd pointed to a SUV parked across from her school, the same one that appeared whenever we left the apartment. He's just security for the neighborhood, baby. The lie tasted bitter. Oh. She'd accepted it with a child's easy trust. That's good. You always say this neighborhood isn't safe. Guilt twisted in my gut. I was teaching my daughter to accept surveillance as normal, to see prison as protection, but what choice did I have? On the 4th night, my phone buzzed at 11 p.m. I'd just gotten Emma to bed after another evening of her asking why we couldn't afford the class trip to the Science Museum. $17 in my account. Dante's promised better life hadn't materialized beyond the suffocating security. Unknown number. But I knew who it was before I answered. Hello? Come downstairs. Dante's voice, smooth as smoke. We're going for a drive. It's 11 at night. Emma's asleep. Your neighbor, Mrs. Martinez from 3A, is already at your door. She'll watch her. She's been paid well for the inconvenience. Of course she had. Another person on his payroll. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. No anger, just certainty. Because you have questions, and I have answers. 5 minutes, Maya. Don't make me come up there. The line went dead. I stared at my phone. Fury and something else, something dangerous, coiling through me. Who did he think he was? Ordering me around like I belonged to him, but he was right about one thing. I had questions. Lots of them. Mrs. Martinez knocked softly. I opened the door to find her smiling apologetically, already in her slippers. I'm sorry, mija, but he pays very well, and he said you needed this. Everyone had their price, apparently. Even sweet Mrs. Martinez, who'd babysat Emma during my worst shifts. I grabbed my jacket and headed downstairs. The SUV waited at the curb, engine purring. The driver, a different one this time, younger, with cold eyes, opened the back door without a word. Dante sat inside, wearing dark jeans and a black sweater that made him look less businessman and more predator. The casual clothes somehow made him more dangerous, stripped of the civilized veneer his suits provided. Get in. I slid inside, keeping as much distance as possible in the confined space. Where are we going? Somewhere we can talk without ears. He knocked twice on the partition, and we pulled away from the curb. You're angry. You've taken over my life. Of course I'm angry. I've kept you alive. He turned to face me fully, and in the dim interior, his eyes gleamed. There was an incident yesterday, someone asking questions about you at the bodega. One of my men intercepted them. Ice flooded my veins. What kind of questions? Your routine, Emma's schedule, where you work. His jaw tightened. They weren't friendly inquiries, Maya. They were reconnaissance. So you were right. The words came out bitter. Your enemies are using me. Not yet. Because I stopped them. He shifted closer, his arm sliding along the seat back behind me. Not touching, but present. This is why you need to trust me. Why fighting me on every security measure is dangerous. You could have explained all this instead of just commandeering my entire existence. Would you have listened? Or would you have insisted you could handle it yourself? His hand moved, fingers barely brushing my shoulder. The touch sent electricity down my spine. You're stubborn, Piccola Fiamma. Brave, but stubborn. It's going to get you killed if you're not careful. The nickname again. Little Flame. It shouldn't have affected me, but it did. A warmth spreading through my chest that had no business being there. We drove in silence through streets that grew increasingly deserted. Finally, we stopped outside an industrial building in a part of the city I didn't recognize. The driver opened the door, and Dante stepped out, extending his hand to help me. I ignored it, climbing out myself. His smile suggested he found my defiance amusing. This way. He led me inside, past security that nodded respectfully, through corridors that smelled of metal and money. We took an elevator to the top floor, emerging into a space that stole my breath. It was an apartment. No, a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the glittering city skyline. Modern furniture in blacks and grays, art on the walls that probably cost more than I'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Everything sleek and cold and beautiful. Like him. Welcome to one of my homes. Dante shrugged off his jacket, tossing it over a leather chair. Without it, I could see the way his sweater clung to his shoulders, the lean strength of his frame. Drink? Answers. Demanding. But he moved to a bar in the corner, pouring amber liquid into 2 glasses. I like it. He handed me one. I took it, if only to have something to do with my hands. The whiskey burned going down, expensive and smooth. Why me? The question burst out before I could stop it. I gestured at the penthouse, at him, at everything. This. You could have anyone. Why are you so obsessed with protecting some broke single mother from the wrong side of town? Dante was quiet for a long moment, swirling his drink, his expression unreadable. Then he moved to the windows, staring out at the city lights. My mother, he said finally, his voice low. She was a lot like you, strong, stubborn, tried to do everything herself. My father, my biological father, was a piece of shit who left when I was 3. She worked herself to death trying to give me a better life. I hadn't expected vulnerability. It disarmed me more than any threat could have. Marco Valentino found us when I was 8. My mother was cleaning offices in one of his buildings. He saw something in her, that same fire, that refusal to break. He married her 6 months later, adopted me, gave us everything. He turned to face me, and something raw flickered in his eyes. She died when I was 16. Cancer. Even with all Marco's money and connections, we couldn't save her. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate. You remind me of her. He moved closer, each step deliberate. When I saw you in that fire, throwing yourself into danger to save a stranger, I saw her. That same reckless courage, that same refusal to be invisible. So this is about your mother? Some psychological need to save what you couldn't save before? Maybe. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could feel his body heat. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe I look at you and see something I want to protect. Something I want to keep. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. I'm not something to be kept. No. His hand rose, fingers tracing my jawline with devastating gentleness. You're someone to be treasured, protected, worshipped. My breath caught. Dante, do you know what it's like? His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and my knees nearly buckled. To spend your whole life surrounded by people who want something from you? Money, power, connections. Everyone has an angle. Everyone's playing games. And then you pull me from that fire, risking everything, asking for nothing. I'm not special. You're wrong. His other hand came up, cradling my face. You're extraordinary, and I'm going to spend every day proving it to you. I should have pulled away. Should have reminded him I didn't want this, didn't ask for any of it. But his touch was intoxicating. His words weaving a spell I didn't know how to break. What do you want from me? I whispered. Everything. His forehead touched mine, and my heart hammered so loud I was certain he could hear it. Your trust. Your time. Eventually, more, but I'm patient, Maya. I can wait. This is insane. Yes. His lips curved against my skin. But you're not running. Why is that? Because despite everything, the danger, the surveillance, the absolute wrongness of this situation, part of me craved what he offered. Security, protection, the feeling of being seen, truly seen, by someone who looked at me like I mattered, like I was worth something. I have conditions, I heard myself say. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes, triumph flickering in his gaze. Name them. Emma comes first, always. No matter what happens between us, she stays safe and out of this life. She doesn't know who you really are or what you do. Agreed. I keep working. I won't be some kept woman sitting around waiting for you. The inventory job works for now. When things are safer, we'll discuss other options. His fingers traced patterns on my neck. Next? You don't make decisions about my life without consulting me. No more surprise security upgrades or paid-off neighbors. We talk first. I'll try. At my sharp look, he amended, I'll do my best. But if there's immediate danger, I won't wait for permission to keep you safe. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. More than I'd expected from a man who clearly wasn't used to compromise. And one more thing. I gathered my courage. You tell me the truth. About who tried to kill you, about what I'm really in the middle of. His expression hardened. Maya. Truth, Dante. Or this doesn't work. I can't protect myself or Emma if I don't know what we're facing. For a moment, I thought he'd refuse. Then he nodded slowly, respect warming those dark eyes. All right. But not tonight. Tonight, you're exhausted, and this conversation will take hours. He stepped back. creating space I immediately missed. My driver will take you home. Tomorrow night, I'll tell you everything. I promise. How do I know you'll keep that promise? His smile was sharp, predatory. Because I don't break promises to people I care about. And whether you believe it or not, piccola fiamma, I care about you. The ride home passed in a blur. My mind spun with everything that had happened, everything he'd said. When we pulled up to my building, Dante's hand caught mine. Thank you. His lips brushed my knuckles, a gesture so old-fashioned and intimate it stole my breath. For listening. For trying. I'm not promising anything. You're here. That's enough for now. He released me, but his eyes held mine. Sleep well, Maya. Dream of better things. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, my hand still tingling from his kiss. Mrs. Martinez reported Emma hadn't stirred, accepted her payment with a knowing smile, and left. In my tiny bedroom, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment, the way he'd touched me, the vulnerability when he'd spoken about his mother, the hunger in his eyes when he'd said he wanted everything. I was falling into something dangerous, something that could destroy me, but God help me. I wasn't sure I wanted to stop. The promised truth came wrapped in revelation and blood. Dante arrived at my apartment the following evening, earlier than expected, his jaw tight and his movements controlled in a way that screamed danger. 2 of his men flanked him, the scarred one from before and another, broader, with knuckles that looked recently split. We need to go. Now. No pleasantries, no explanation. Emma looked up from her homework, eyes wide. Mama? I moved instinctively between them and my daughter. What's happening? There's been a development. Dante's gaze flicked to Emma, softening fractionally. It's not safe here. I have a secure location prepared. Both of you, please. You said we'd talk first. Plans changed. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Maya, I swear to you, I will explain everything. But right now, I need you to trust me. 5 minutes to pack essentials. That's all the time we have. The fear in his eyes, real, unguarded fear, made my decision. Emma, baby, grab your backpack. We're going on an adventure. But my homework, bring it. I was already moving, shoving clothes into a duffel bag with shaking hands. Toothbrushes, Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit, the photo album that held everything of her father she had left. Essentials. Survival mode I knew too well. 3 minutes later, we were in the SUV. Emma pressed against my side, clutching her rabbit while Dante sat across from us, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. The words were harsh, clipped, angry. Where are we going? Emma's small voice cut through the tension. Dante lowered his phone, and his expression transformed, the hardness melting into something almost gentle. Somewhere safe, somewhere with a pool and a garden. Do you like swimming? Emma nodded cautiously. Good. My home has both, and a library with books. You like books? I love books. A tiny smile. Then you'll be very happy there. He glanced at me, and I saw the silent question, is this okay? I nodded, pulling Emma closer. Whatever was happening, at least he was trying to make it less terrifying for her. We drove for over an hour, leaving the city entirely. The landscape shifted from urban sprawl to wooded estates, gates that opened at our approach, properties that stretched beyond what my eyes could measure. Finally, we turned down a private road lined with ancient oaks, their branches forming a canopy overhead. The house, no, the mansion, appeared like something from a movie. Stone and glass and old-world elegance mixed with modern security. Cameras everywhere, discreet but present. Men patrolling the grounds with earpieces and barely concealed weapons. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress. Wow, Emma breathed. It's like a castle. Close enough. Dante helped us out, his hand lingering on my lower back. The touch was possessive, claiming, and despite everything, I leaned into it. A woman appeared at the entrance, 60-something, gray hair pulled back, warm eyes that crinkled when she smiled. Signora, Signorina, welcome. I'm Rosa. I manage the household. Whatever you need, you ask me, see? Emma was whisked away by Rosa with promises of cookies and a tour of the library. I started to follow, but Dante caught my wrist. Let her settle. Rosa's raised 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Emma's safe with her. He led me through corridors filled with art and history, finally stopping at a set of double doors. My office, where we talk. The room was all dark wood and leather, bookshelves climbing to the ceiling, a massive desk positioned to overlook the grounds. He poured 2 drinks without asking, handed me one, then moved to the windows. 2 hours ago, we found the man who set that fire. His voice was flat, emotionless. Someone I trusted. Someone who'd been with my family for 15 years. I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly unsteady. Why? Money. Always money. He turned, and the fury in his eyes made my breath catch. A rival family, the Castellanos, paid him $500,000 to eliminate me. They've been trying to move into our territory for months. Killing me would have created a power vacuum they could exploit. Did you... I couldn't finish the question. Kill him? Dante's smile was cold. Yes. After he told us everything, including the fact that they know about you. The room tilted. How? Your name made the police report from the fire. Someone in the department is on their payroll. They've been watching you, Maya, waiting to see if I'd make contact, if you meant something to me. He crossed to me, kneeling so we were eye level, and now they know you do, which makes you a target. So, bringing us here was necessary. This estate is secure. 30 acres, walls on all sides, armed guards I trust with my life. They can't get to you here. His hands covered mine, warm and steady. I know this is a lot. I know you're scared, but I promise you, nothing will happen to Emma or to you. Not while I'm breathing. The certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it highlighted just how dangerous his world truly was. How long do we stay here? Until I've dealt with the Castellanos. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Days. Maybe weeks. I'm moving against them now, cutting off their operations, making it clear that threatening what's mine has consequences. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He rose, pulling me up with him, his body suddenly too close, too warm. Tell me you don't feel this pull between us. Tell me you haven't been thinking about last night, about my hands on you, about what it would be like if I... Stop. My voice came out breathless. Why? His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back. Because you're scared of wanting me? Or scared of how much you already do? Both. The admission escaped before I could stop it. His smile was triumphant and tender all at once. At least you're honest. His lips brushed my forehead, achingly gentle. I can work with honest. A knock interrupted us. The scarred man, Luca, I'd learned his name, entered without waiting for permission. Boss, the Castellano shipment. We've located it. Dante's entire demeanor shifted, the tender man vanishing behind cold calculation. Intercept it. I want everything confiscated, and their men delivered a message. Nothing permanent, but memorable. And the woman. Isabella Castellano has been calling, demanding a meeting. Something dark flickered across Dante's face. Tell her I'll consider it, after she returns what she stole. Luca nodded and left. I stared at Dante, questions burning. Isabella Castellano is their second in command. Also my ex-fiancé. The world stopped. You're what? Arranged engagement, 5 years ago before I took full control of the family. It was supposed to unite our organizations, and decades of feuding. He poured himself another drink, his movements tight. She called it off 3 weeks before the wedding. Said she couldn't marry someone she didn't love. I was relieved. But now I wonder if it was always planned. If she was gathering information, learning our weaknesses, so the Castellanos could strike when it would hurt most. His knuckles whitened around the glass. She sent flowers to my mother's grave last week. A message. She knows where I'm vulnerable, understanding dawned. That's why you're so protective. She'll use me the way you would have used her if the engagement had stood. Exactly. He set down the glass with deliberate care. Isabella is brilliant and ruthless. If she sees you as important to me, she'll exploit it, which is why you stay here, where she can't reach you. And if I refuse, He moved with predator speed, caging me against the desk, his arms on either side of me. "Then I'll tie you to the bed until you see reason." My pulse jumped. "You wouldn't dare." "Wouldn't I?" His lips hovered over mine, close enough to feel his breath. "I've killed for you, Maya. Restructured my entire security apparatus around keeping you safe. Do you really think I'd hesitate to restrain you if it meant saving your life?" The possessiveness should have terrified me. Instead, heat pooled low in my stomach, my body responding in ways my mind refused to acknowledge. "You're insane." "About you?" "Absolutely." His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. "I've never felt this before. This need to protect, to possess, to claim. You've unraveled something in me, piccola fiamma. Something I didn't know existed. Dante." Whatever I was going to say dissolved as his lips finally met mine. The kiss was nothing like I'd imagined. Not gentle or tentative, but consuming. Hungry, his mouth moved over mine with devastating skill, coaxing and demanding all at once. I gasped, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until I forgot how to breathe. Forgot everything except the taste of him. The heat of his body pressed against mine. My hands found his shoulders, holding on as my knees weakened. His arm wrapped around my waist, lifting me onto the desk, stepping between my thighs. The new angle made me acutely aware of every hard plane of his body, the barely restrained strength in his frame. Maya. My name was a prayer and a curse against my lips. Tell me to stop. Tell me this is too fast, too much. I can't. The admission tore from somewhere deep. God help me. I can't. His forehead pressed to mine, both of us breathing hard. This changes everything. I know. There's no going back after this. You understand that? You'll be mine, officially. In my world, in my bed, under my protection until one of us dies. The words should have been a warning. Instead, they felt like a promise. I'm terrified. Good. His lips found my neck, teeth grazing sensitive skin. Fear will keep you careful, keep you alive. I need you alive, Maya. Need you whole and here in mine. A throat cleared. We sprang apart to find Rosa standing in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. Pardon, but the little one is asking for her mama, and dinner is ready. Reality crashed back. Emma. I had a daughter who needed me, who was depending on me to keep her safe and sane in this madness. I slid off the desk, my legs unsteady, smoothing my rumpled clothes. Dante's hand caught mine as I passed. This conversation isn't over, I know. I squeezed his fingers. But Emma comes first, always. The softness in his eyes stole my breath. I meant what I said. She's under my protection too, both of you are. Dinner was surreal. Emma chattered about the library and the pool, and how Rosa had promised to teach her to make pasta. Dante sat at the head of the table, watching us with possessive intensity, occasionally interjecting with questions about Emma's favorite subjects or books. He was good with her. Patient. Kind. Nothing like the dangerous man who'd promised to tie me to a bed, or who'd killed someone just hours ago, after Emma was tucked into a bedroom 3 times the size of our apartment. I found Dante on the terrace overlooking the grounds. She likes you, I said quietly, joining him at the railing. Good. I like her too. He pulled me against his side and I let him, too exhausted to resist. She's smart, brave like her mother. She's everything good about me, the only thing I've ever done right. You're wrong. He turned me to face him, his expression fierce. You've survived. Against odds that would have broken most people. You've raised a beautiful child alone. You ran into a burning building to save a stranger. Don't diminish yourself, Maya, not to me. Tears stung my eyes. When was the last time someone had seen me? Really seen me? I'm scared, I whispered. Of this, of you, of what I'm feeling. Good. He kissed me softly, sweetly. Fear means you're still thinking clearly. But know this. I'm scared too, terrified that something will happen to you, that I'll fail to keep you safe, that you'll wake up one day and realize I'm not worth the danger. Dante. But I'm selfish enough not to let you go anyway. His arms tightened around me. You're mine now, Maya. and I protect what's mine with everything I have. I should have protested, should have insisted I belonged to no one. But wrapped in his arms, looking out over the fortress he built, I couldn't find the words. Because maybe, just maybe, I wanted to be his. 2 weeks in Dante's fortress changed everything. Emma flourished. She had space to run, books to read, Rosa's constant affection, and a pool she used every day. Her laughter echoed through halls that had probably never heard a child's joy. She stopped asking when we'd go home. I stopped asking too. Dante was everywhere, present in ways I hadn't expected. He joined us for breakfast, before disappearing into meetings I wasn't privy to. He returned for dinner, asked Emma about her day, helped her with math homework with surprising patience. And at night, after she was asleep, he'd find me on the terrace or in the library, and we'd talk for hours. About his childhood, his mother, the weight of the legacy Marco had left him. About my dreams that had died when Emma's father abandoned us, about the shame of being invisible, about how terrifying it was to suddenly matter. He kissed me often, slow, deep kisses that promised more but never pushed. "When you're ready," he'd murmur against my lips. "I can wait." But patience was wearing thin on both sides. On the 15th night, everything culminated. I'd just put Emma to bed when Luca appeared, his expression grim. "Boss needs you. The office. Now." My stomach dropped. That tone meant trouble. Dante stood behind his desk, phone pressed to his ear, his face carved from stone. When he saw me, he ended the call abruptly. "Isabella requested a meeting, tonight. Neutral territory." His voice was controlled fury. "She claims she wants to negotiate peace. End the conflict." "That's good, isn't it?" "It's a trap." He moved around the desk, his movements predatory. "But it's also an opportunity. If I can get her to admit her involvement on record, I can end this without more bloodshed. So go. Do what you need to do. I am." But there's a complication. He pulled out his phone, showing me a text message. My blood turned to ice. "Bring the woman, or there's no deal. I want to see what's worth betraying our alliance for." "No." The word came out sharp. "Absolutely not. I'm not walking into danger just so your ex can satisfy her curiosity." "I know." His hands cupped my face. "But Maya, this might be our only chance to end this. If we don't, the Castellanos will keep coming. They'll eventually find a weakness in our defenses. And Emma..." He didn't need to finish. Emma was the weakness. My beautiful, innocent daughter who'd already adapted too well to this life. "You want me to go with you. I want you safe. But if bringing you means ending this war..." His jaw clenched. "You'll be surrounded by my best men. Luca, Marco, Antonio. They'll form a wall around you. And I'll be there. Nothing will touch you, Maya. I swear it on my life." I thought of Emma, sleeping peacefully upstairs, of the life we'd been building here, precarious and strange, but undeniably better than before. Of what would happen if this didn't end. Always looking over our shoulders, always waiting for violence to find us. "Okay." My voice was steadier than I felt. "But Emma stays here with Rosa, and if anything feels wrong, I'm gone." Relief and concern warred on his face. "Agreed." An hour later, I sat in the back of the SUV, wearing a dress Dante had provided. Deep red, elegant, armor disguised as silk. He sat beside me, his hand possessively on my thigh, his presence both comforting and terrifying. "Remember," he said quietly as we approached the meeting location, a high-end restaurant closed for a private event. "Stay close. Don't engage with Isabella directly. Let me handle everything. You're afraid of what she'll say to me." His silence was answer enough. The restaurant was beautiful, all low lighting and expensive art. But the tension was palpable. Dante's men flanked the entrance, facing off against an equal number of Castellano soldiers. 2 families, armed and wary, in a standoff disguised as diplomacy. Isabella Castellano waited at a center table, and I hated how beautiful she was. Sleek black hair, olive skin, dark eyes that assessed me with surgical precision. She wore white, a deliberate contrast to my red, and smiled as we approached. Dante. Her voice was honey and poison. You look well. Almost happy. How unusual. Isabella. He pulled out my chair, a possessive hand on my shoulder. Let's skip the pleasantries. You wanted this meeting. Talk. She sipped her wine, gaze never leaving me. So this is her, the nobody who's turned your world upside down. Not an insult, just observation. I expected someone more. Careful. Dante's voice dropped dangerously. Or what? You'll kill me like you killed poor Antonio? She leaned back, perfectly composed. He had a family, Dante, 3 children, but I suppose collateral damage doesn't matter when you're in love. He tried to burn me alive. His family will be compensated, but he earned his death. Fair enough. Isabella's attention shifted fully to me. Tell me, Maya. May I call you Maya? What's it like? Knowing men die because of you? That this war, these bodies, are because Dante Valentino decided you were worth breaking our truce for? The words hit like physical blows. Because she was right. People had died, would die, because I'd pulled a man from a fire. Isabella, enough. Dante's hand tightened on my shoulder. No, it's fine. I met her gaze steadily, refusing to flinch. You're right. People have died, and I hate it. But I didn't start this war. You did. When you tried to kill him. When you used your history together to get close enough to strike, something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, respect. Smart and brave. I see the appeal. She set down her wine. Here's my offer. The Castellanos withdraw. We return to our territories, respect existing boundaries. In exchange, Dante compensates us for lost shipments, and you disappear. Excuse me? Leave him. Take your daughter and go. I'll provide money, a new identity, a life somewhere Dante can never find you. She leaned forward. Because as long as you're with him, this war continues. My family won't accept weakness. And you, Maya Torres, are his greatest weakness. The truth in her words was undeniable. I could feel Dante's rage radiating beside me, barely controlled. She's not going anywhere. His voice could have cut glass. Then people keep dying. Isabella stood, smoothing her dress. It's simple mathematics, Dante. 1 woman, or dozens of soldiers. Your mother would have known which choice to make. That crossed a line. Dante moved so fast I barely saw it, his hand slamming onto the table, wine glasses shattering. You don't speak about my mother, ever. Truth hurts. Isabella smiled sadly. She loved Marco, but she understood duty, sacrifice. You've forgotten those lessons, blinded by a pretty face and hero worship. The only thing I've forgotten is why I ever considered marrying you. He pulled me to my feet, tucking me behind him. Here's my counteroffer. You and your family leave the city entirely. I'll allow you to keep your international operations, but everything east of the river belongs to me now. Reparations for your attempted assassination. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm joking? His smile was all teeth. You tried to kill me, threatened my family, insulted the woman I love. Be grateful I'm offering you anything at all. The woman I love. The words hung in the air, impossible and true. Isabella's composure finally cracked. You'd go to war over her? Risk everything Marco built? In a heartbeat. No hesitation. This is your last chance, Isabella. Take the deal and walk away, or I dismantle everything you have piece by piece until there's nothing left. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Finally, Isabella nodded sharply. Fine. But know this, Dante. Love makes you weak, and weakness gets you killed in our world. Her gaze found mine. Enjoy him while you can, Maya. Men like us don't get happy endings. She swept out, her men following. Dante held position until they were gone, then turned to me, searching my face. Are you all right? She's right, isn't she? My voice trembled. About me being your weakness, about this making you vulnerable. Yes. No lies, just honesty. But you're also my strength. My reason to build something better than what I inherited. To be more than just violence and territory. His hands framed my face. I love you, Maya. Completely. Irrationally. And I don't care what it costs. Tears spilled over. I love you too. God help me, I do. But I'm terrified. Then we'll be terrified together. He kissed me, deep and claiming, in the middle of that empty restaurant with his men discreetly looking away. You're mine, Maya Torres. Mine to protect. Mine to love. Mine to keep. Say it. I'm yours. The words felt like freedom in chains all at once. But Dante, Emma, we'll grow up safe and loved. I'll adopt her if you'll let me. Give her my name, my protection, everything I have. His forehead touched mine. Marry me. Make this official. Be my wife, my partner, my everything. That's insane. That's us. His smile was crooked, boyish, devastating. Say yes, piccola fiamma. Take the leap with me. I thought about my tiny apartment, the diner, the invisible life I'd led. Then I thought about Emma's laughter in the pool, Dante helping with homework, the way he looked at me like I hung the stars. Yes. The word came out breathless, certain. Yes, I'll marry you. His kiss was answer and promise, need and devotion. Around us, his men erupted in applause and wolf whistles. Even Luca was grinning. 3 months later, I stood in a garden filled with white roses, wearing a dress that cost more than my old apartment. Emma stood beside me in her flower girl dress, beaming. Rosa dabbed her eyes. Even Luca looked suspiciously misty. And at the altar, Dante waited in a black tux that made him look like sin and salvation combined. His smile when he saw me could have powered the sun. You're beautiful, he whispered as I joined him. So damn beautiful. You're not so bad yourself. The ceremony was small, just family and trusted men. No spectacle, no photographers. Just vows spoken with absolute certainty. Rings exchanged with trembling hands. A kiss that promised forever. I love you, Mrs. Valentino, Dante murmured against my lips. I love you too. And I meant it with every fiber of my being. Emma tackled us both, laughing. Does this mean Dante's my dad now? If you want me to be. He scooped her up, and my heart swelled at the sight. What do you say, piccola principessa? Want to be stuck with me? Yes. She threw her arms around his neck. Best dad ever. Later, after the reception, after Emma was asleep, Dante led me to our bedroom, truly ours now. He kissed me slowly, reverently, like I was something precious. Are you happy? He asked, vulnerability showing through the cracks. Terrifyingly happy. I pulled him closer. You know this is crazy, right? I went from invisible to married to a mob boss in 3 months. Best 3 months of my life. His lips found my neck. And I promise you, Maya, every day after this will be even better. You'll never be invisible again. Never doubt your worth. Never wonder if you're loved. Promise? On my life. He scooped me up, carrying me to the bed. Now let me show you exactly how much I love you. And he did. All night, he worshipped me with hands and lips and whispered words until I forgot I'd ever been anything but cherished.